Hey, this is Danny B of the Boca Brothers, and welcome back to the Boca Brothers YouTube channel. Today, we're diving headfirst into the rich and exhilarating history of the Indianapolis 500 pace cars of the 1970s, a decade that left an indelible mark on the world of motorsports. This iconic track has seen legends rise, records shattered, and moments etched in its racing history. And right at the front of it all, leading the pack, were some of the most remarkable pace cars ever to grace the brickyard. So rev up your engines and get ready for a nostalgic journey through the 1970s Indianapolis 500 pace cars that kept the world on the edge of its seat.
The noise, the same old bag of notes. Wouldn't you like something new to rock out with? This is it, the 1970 442 with 455 cube V8 engine standard.
In 1970, the Oldsmobile 442 made its round at the Indy 500. The 442 name derives from the original car's four-barrel carburetor, four-speed manual transmission, and dual exhausts. It was originally written 442 with badging showing hyphens between the numerals. 1970 was the pinnacle of performance from Oldsmobile. In order to keep up with the horsepower race, General Motors dropped the cap on engine size in 1970, and Oldsmobile responded by making the Olds 455 V8 the standard 442 engine. Output was 365 horsepower, with a 370 horsepower variant available with the W30 option. The 1970 model year can be identified by its vertical bars in the silver grille, rectangular parking lights in the front bumper, and vertical tail lights.
You in trouble again, David?
Ain't fair, Sheriff. Steal one lousy chicken and you're marked for life.
Grand theft automobile, J.W. Looky here.
Sheriff, I bought that car cash money.
You can't afford no car like this.
These fancy Italian jobbies cost a fortune.
New Dodge Challenger coupe, Buford.
Challenger?
And it don't cost no fortune.
Next up is the 1971 Indy Pace Car. The Dodge Challenger Pace Car may be the first infamous car ever to run in Indianapolis due to the tragic circumstances surrounding its day at the track. The car was driven by local car dealer Eldon Palmer. Palmer had practiced using a cone to show him where to start braking in order to stop the big car before the end of the pit lane. When Palmer took to the track on race day, somebody removed the cone from pit row. And by the time Palmer realized it, it was too late to stop. The car ended up careening into the photographer's grandstand at the end of pit row, injuring 20 people. In the years immediately following, the pace car drivers utilized would only be an experienced race car driver. Oldsmobile paced the Indy 500 with the 442 just 2 years earlier. In 1972, they worked with Hurst Performance Products to build a modified Cutlass convertible that is often called the 72 Hurst Olds. It was the first time in the history of the Speedway that an auto parts company's name was a part of the pace car's name. The car's 455 V8 engine made 300 horsepower. The 57th Indianapolis 500 race was held on May 28, 1973. A Cadillac Fleetwood Eldorado convertible was chosen as the official pace car. Veteran Indy driver Jim Rathman drove the actual pace car and led the pack to the start of the race. This event marked the 5th time the Indy 500 race had been paced by a Cadillac. 1973 was only the second time a front-wheel drive vehicle had paced the 500, with the first front-wheel drive pace car being the 1930 Cord, which also held the honor of E.L. Cord himself as the driver. A total of 566 1973 Cadillac Fleetwood Eldorado convertible pace cars were built. They were all finished in cotillion white, with white convertible tops and medium red Scarlet Sierra grain leather interiors.
I have our new Cutlass now.
Sure handles easy.
Drive happy, Cutlass can make you a little drive happy.
For the 1974 Indy Pace Car, Oldsmobile was no stranger when it came to pacing the Indianapolis 500. Olds went back to the Indianapolis 500 for the fourth time in 1974 with the Hurst Olds Cutlass. Hurst Olds came with either a 350 cubic inch V8, which was new to the Cutlass, or a 230 horsepower L76 455 big block engine with a W30 model. The 1974 Hurst Olds was intended to be a pace car, but because the Indy 500 track required convertibles for the parade lap cars, the Delta 88 was chosen. These cars were used as track cars to parade celebrities and guests on the track. Next is the 1975 Indy Pace Car. Buick introduced a 1975 Buick Century Free Spirit Edition replica based on the Indy Pace Car for the public, with patriotic graphic decals and the Buick Hawk on the hood. This 1975 vehicle had a transmission shifter on the floor, with bucket seats and Hurst hatch T-tops installed. The engine was a 350 V8, as opposed to the 455 V8 used on the actual Indy 500 pace car. 1976 was the second straight year the Buick Century paced Indy. The 1975 race used a 75 Century coupe with a massive 455 V8 stuffed under the hood. Despite losing its emissions equipment to unleash its potential, the big Buick struggled to keep the necessary speeds. So for 1976, Buick tried something revolutionary, a turbocharged V6. Buick just happened to have an engineering team experimenting with a turbocharged version of its 231 V6. And when Indy invited Buick to return for a second year as the pace car purveyor, it was the turbo that Buick tapped. Next up is the 1977 Indy 500 pace car. You know, when you think of Indianapolis 500 pace cars, you think of muscle cars like the Camaro SS, Corvette, Buick Grand National GNX. Not a car like an Oldsmobile Delta 88, unless it's still 1949. Well, variety is a spice of life, at least that's what they say. And auto manufacturers never missed a marketing opportunity to sell more cars. And that's exactly what happened in 1977 when Oldsmobile got the opportunity to pace the Great American Race with their newly downsized B-body Delta 88. The true pace cars used in the 1977 race had a Targa top design, but that was not carried over to the festival or retail models. 25 years after the birth of this American sports car, the Corvette finally got a chance to pace the Indy 500 in 1978. The car, powered by a 220 horsepower 5.7-liter V8, was the first pace car in history to use an entirely stock drivetrain. Although only 2,500 replicas were originally planned, Chevrolet eventually produced 6,500 too, one for each dealership. Replicas were available with the standard 185 L48 engine or the optional 220 horsepower L82 engine. Now on to the last year of the Indy 500 pace cars of the 1970s. I'll let this guy introduce it.
There's going to be a new breed of Mustang to pace the Indy 500 this year.
Hello, I'm Jackie Stewart, and this is the beautiful 79 Mustang from Ford.
With its exciting aerodynamic styling and a wide choice of engines and personal options to satisfy just about every driver's needs. Precise handling, flat cornering, and an excellent driving position.
I'll be driving this specially modified Mustang to pace the Indy 500, and you can buy this beautiful limited edition version of the Indy Mustang at your local Ford dealer.
Well, there you have it, the Indy 500 pace cars of the 1970s. We hope you enjoyed it. It was a blast to make, and I learned a lot of history on it. What do you think of the 1970s pace cars? Would you like a 1960s pace cars, 1980s pace cars? Let us know. Leave a comment below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that bell for future Boca Brother video notifications. This is Danny B of the Boca Brothers. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next weekend.